Welcome back. I'm delighted to be joined by the former Labour leadership candidate, still a Labour MP, of course, Jess Phillips. Before the new year, your candidacy to replace Jeremy Corbyn generated an enormous amount of excitement, but it didn't really take off. What went wrong?
Well, I suppose it didn't really take off is a mixed review, because tens and tens of thousands of people joined the Labour Party and joined our campaign. I mean, absolutely. I mean, thousands of people got in touch and said, you know, I've never voted Labour before, or I've never voted before, and I'm signing up to join the Labour Party because I want you to be the leader. But the reality is that the contest, as it went on, the Labour Party has been in such a difficult position for quite a long time, and I think that at the moment it needs a leader who can unite all the parts of the Labour Party, and that's the trade unions, the members, the new members, and you know, it became clear that that person wasn't me, but that's okay.
Do you think the problem is that too many Labour members and indeed trade unionists are just in denial about what went wrong? Often the charge against people like you is that you were just disloyal to Jeremy Corbyn, and if you'd only all been sort of loyal foot soldiers, everything would have been all right.
Well, it's funny because I didn't hear that from the trade unions or the members.
So why didn't they vote for you?
I think that the reality...
Or why wouldn't they vote for you?
I mean, if the honest truth is that I think that the Labour Party... I mean, they've probably because, you know, the other candidates that they chose had their own merits as well. I don't wish to just say otherwise. But the reality is that the Labour Party has been really difficult for the last 5 years for lots of different reasons. And I think that lots of them just want a safe pair of hands. They're also...
But is a safe pair of hands, is a safe pair of hands going to get the Labour Party back on track?
It will get the Labour Party back on track, but the thing that we have to do...
Could you win the election with a safe pair of hands?
The thing that we have to do, and the thing that I suppose my candidacy was attempting to be about, is that we've got to start talking to the country on the terms that the country wants to hear. And I don't have to be the leader of the Labour Party to continue to do that, and to do that to help the Labour Party be the best it can be. And I suppose when I withdrew, I realised that being the leader, you don't have to be the leader, and it doesn't have to just be about one person. But the thing that I think that I brought to the contest and bring to the Labour Party is that ability to reach out and get thousands of people to join.
But that's a very important point, because, I mean, you know, most observers would say that all the current candidates are talking to Labour members. They're not talking to the country.
Well, they are, because that's what they have to do, actually.
But they're not at the moment. They're tailoring, you know...
You're absolutely right, and I think it's a real worry. And what often happens when the Labour Party has a leadership election is that we lose the rhetoric. So if you think that when Ed Miliband became the leader, while we're off walking around the country and going to these hustings and doing all that, the rhetoric about, you know, the false rhetoric about how Labour was to blame for literally the global recession took hold, and we never caught that back. And what is happening currently is that Boris Johnson is making the argument as if his election as the Prime Minister this time is a completely new era, not actually the 10th year of a decade of decline.
But doesn't it worry you that the reason that's happening is because the candidates think if they talk the policies and the ideas that might resonate with the country as a whole, they're going to alienate your members, and that's why that's why essentially they're not reaching out properly.
Well,
and that's the structural problem you've got.
It is a structural problem, and it is a balancing act. But the reality is that they should be all trying to do both. And actually, listening to Rebecca, who is not somebody I would back to be the leader of the Labour Party, but listening to her here, I actually think she was trying to talk to the country in lots of regards, and I think that they are trying to. But
you're backing
we'll
me. But
fall
you're
into
backing
the pitfalls of talking about selections and things which, you know, the people of Birmingham Yardley speak of little else but the selection of Labour MPs. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But you're backing Lisa Nandy, is that right?
I am backing Lisa Nandy.
And what is it that Lisa's got that the other two don't?
I think that Lisa has really impressed me throughout the contest. I think that she is attempting to talk to the country. I think she's talking about the need for change as well, the need for a turning of a page and doing something different that will reach the country in a better way. However, I would vote for Lisa 1. We have a preferential voting system, and then I would vote Keir 2. I think either of them have a chance to do that thing of uniting the party and then talking to the country.
And just to be clear, though, I mean, you may not have the opportunity, as it were, but if any of the leaders, including Becky, asked you to serve on the front bench, would you?
I mean, I'm not sure that I'm going to get the call from Becky, but you never know. But yes,
if you did, I mean.
Yes, I mean, yeah, of course I would. If I felt that that was the thing that I could best offer to the Labour Party that would help it win, I will do anything, including withdrawing from the leadership race, to help the Labour Party win the next general election. And that may mean going on the front bench, that may mean having a different role, but I have a role to play, and I think that that is largely being trusted and liked by the country.
And just in terms of setting
that
the
I can
goal,
lend.
just very briefly on this one, because there's another question I want to ask you, but just in terms of rebuilding, 120 seats is what you need.
Yeah.
And actually, very rarely in the history of British politics has anybody, made up that much ground.
1997.
Are we really talking about rebuilding, but probably not winning the next election?
Well, I mean, if you look at the data, it doesn't look easy. There's no two ways about that. But politics is not what it has always historically been. It's relatively feral and it's relatively up and down at the moment. So it's not beyond the sort of wit of man or woman. But the reality is it's going to be very hard, but we won't do it unless we properly focus on being optimistic. My husband said to me the other day, and I think that this is something very important for the Labour Party to hear, is how on earth did you allow Boris Johnson to be seen as the hopeful progress for the future?
Now on leaders like Johnson or Trump, you're doing what you do best on this programme, which is you're saying what you think. Some would say you were just too bottled up during the contest, too controlled. Is that a legitimate criticism? Why didn't you, in a sense, take a leaf out of the Trump playbook and just be yourself?
I think that that's a relatively reasonable criticism, but the truth is that I have to say I'm not entirely sure that that would have done the work of uniting the Labour Party and necessarily helping the contest be anything other than a fight. And do you know what we don't need at the moment in the Labour Party is a massive fight. We've been in that position for a long time. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But the idea that telling it how it is what Trump or Boris Johnson do is not something that I recognise. I recognise that they lie and they spin.
Damien, can I just ask you, do you think the Labour Party was rational in the sense pushing Jess out of the contest? Was she a candidate you would have feared?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great performer. Yes, how unhelpful can I be, Jess, at this moment? I'll endorse her the next time round she runs. But I think it's a much deeper problem for the Labour Party, which is reflected, oddly enough, in I've listened to a lot of the maiden speeches of new Labour members, and they are extraordinarily, I have to say, disconnected from what my constituents or Rosie's constituents...
Do you think that's a fair criticism?
I can't comment because I haven't heard all the maiden speeches.
I mean, being specific, they are massively partisan, but they're talking about colonialism and issues of wokeness and things like that. I don't think your constituents care about that.
We've got a sort of semi-entente going on here, maybe, unusual. Anyway, that's it. Next week, Boris Johnson will announce the results of the beauty contest to be in his cabinet. Join us to assess the winners and losers. Bye!